All right, today we are diving into something really intense. It's this fiery philosophical diatribe from a figure known as Wotan the Overman. And what it is, really, is this powerful critique of another character, the Sapphire Jester. It gets right to the heart of a huge, fundamental conflict. Destruction versus creation. And it kicks off just like that. I mean, no preamble, no hello, welcome, just bam! A single, powerful command that just slices right through all the noise. It drops you right into the middle of the scene. You can almost feel the air still ringing from the jester's laughter.
So right away, Wotan sets his sights on the subject of his critique, this Sapphire Jester. And listen to how he describes the jester's presence. It's not joyful laughter, he says. No, it's a malignant shriek. He calls it this hollow, reactive sound, kind of like a pendulum just swinging back and forth endlessly.
Okay, and this is where the argument takes a really fascinating turn, because you'd think he's just going to tear the jester down, right? But no. First, he actually builds him up. He makes a case for why the jester is so vitally important. Let's dig into why.
So Wotan doesn't just paint the jester as some simple bad guy, not at all. He sees him as this crucial force of nature. He calls him a keen, cold edge, the very thing you need to cut away a dead, decaying past. A beautiful, chaotic agent of destruction. What a phrase, right?
So let's break down the jester's job description here. He's the ultimate iconoclast. Wotan calls him the great no dressed in silk and irony. I love that. His whole purpose is to sneer at all the old, established values, to kick dust on every sacred idol. Basically, he's a professional demolitions expert for old ideas.
And here's that twist again. Wotan isn't just grudgingly accepting this role, he's actually applauding it. He gets at this act of clearing the slate, of burning it all down, isn't just necessary, it's worthy of respect. It's the essential first step. But, and this is a huge but, it's only the first step.
Okay, so let's get to the real pivot point of this whole argument, because right after praising the jester's power to destroy, Wotan is about to expose his fundamental, inescapable weakness.
And this is the line. This is where everything flips. It's such a powerful metaphor, right? It suggests that for all his apparent freedom, for all his chaos, the jester is actually bound. He's limited. He's ultimately pulled down by the very things he's trying to destroy.
And this really gets to the core of the jester's problem. His whole identity, his entire existence, is defined by what he's against. Yeah, he can mock the old morality, but he can't write a new one. His critique is, sure, magnificent, but it's only ever a reaction. It's never a sovereign action. He's just a mirror, reflecting a foolishness that he himself is too weak to actually overcome. This really hits the philosophical heart of his failure. See, the jester can look right into the abyss, right into that void of meaninglessness, and laugh. But what he can't do, what he lacks the strength for, is to affirm life and actually build something new in the face of that abyss. He can't handle the challenge of creating joy again and again and again.
And that brings us right to the main event, really. Wotan now lays out a series of really sharp, direct comparisons between the jester's way and the path of what he calls the Overman, or the Übermensch.
This right here, this is the fundamental split. The jester's critique, no matter how brilliant, is always a reaction. It's always responding to something that's already there. The Overman's path, on the other hand, is a sovereign action. It's about creating something from your own will that didn't exist before. One is dependent, the other is completely independent. I love this comparison. Think about their perspectives. It's like they're both standing on the exact same mountaintop, surrounded by the ruins of the old world. But the jester, he's looking down. He's pointing and saying, look at all that ruin. The Overman, though, he's looking up. He sees that same peak and says, this is just the first step. So you see, one embodies an ending, and the other embodies a beginning. The jester, he represents the tragicomic death of the old way of being. The Overman, well, he's the terrifying but purposeful birth of the new. And this metaphor about fire really drives home the difference in their endurance. The jester is a brilliant spark, right? A quick flash of rebellion, a moment of fire. But the Overman, he's the unyielding hearth. He's the structure that can actually sustain that flame, keeping it going through what Wotan calls the long, cosmic winter.
All right, so let's bring this all to a head. We're getting to the conclusion now, and we're going to see how all this builds up to the Overman's ultimate task. This is it, the final command, the shift from just talking and critiquing to doing the real work.
This is really the core warning of the entire diatribe. It's so easy to confuse the sound of rebellion, all the noise of tearing things down, with the difficult, quiet work of actually creating something new. Wotan is screaming that these are two completely different things.
And here it is, the sovereign task. The real trial of the Overman isn't being able to laugh at the ruins. Anyone can do that. The real test is having the will to build right there among them. It's knowing full well that it all might just crumble again and choosing to build it anyway. So the whole thing ends with this series of 3 powerful commands. The first one is simple: go. This is the call to action. It's about casting off that passive, fleeting laughter of the jester and finally taking on the burden and the glory of your own will. The second command follows right on its heels: create. This is that concrete shift from just reacting to actually acting. It's saying stop being a critic, stop being just an observer, a jester, become a maker, a builder, a creator of new values.
And then we get the final command, and maybe this is the hardest one of all: endure. Because creating something isn't a one-and-done deal, right? It's a sustained effort. It demands the strength to protect and maintain what you've built, through all the hardship, through all the long years.
And the whole thing ends by turning the tables and pointing this challenge right at us, at you. It basically says jokes are a distraction from the real work of becoming who you're meant to be. And it leaves us with the ultimate question. When all the critique is over, when the ground has been cleared, what will you build?